Hello, welcome to ReaLAWstate with Patti and Kate. I am Patti McCardle. I'm your real estate attorney and a broker here at Bold Real Estate. And my counterpart, Kate Lanigan, is off delivering her child to school, so I get to have a special guest. And today I have with us Carrie Humphrey of Embrace Home Loans. Welcome, Carrie.
Thank you very much.
And one of the things that I was talking to Carrie with the other day, because when Kate said she wouldn't be here, so I need to find a guest, he and I had this long conversation about veterans and about the home loans for veterans, the programs, what it means, some of the myths. We had such a great conversation about it. So I thought we need to have him on here because if you're a veteran or you know somebody who's a veteran, please share this with them because I think there's a lot of myths and things that people don't know. So let's simplify it. All right. All right. So Carrie, why don't you give them a little bit of background about you being in the mortgage business, just so they can get to know you a little bit, so they don't have to listen to me babble. So,
thank you for having me, and it's an honor to sit in Kate's chair today.
Woo! No pressure.
No pressure. I've been with Embrace Home Loans for almost 18 years.
Wow.
Actually, my anniversary is October the 1st, 18 years. But prior to that, I was a high school teacher, and so I try to use my former background to help me with my present.
I need some patience for that.
Yeah, exactly. But I enjoy it. I've done a lot with Embrace Home Loans as far as being on the lending side, the leadership side, but right now I'm working a lot with buyers trying to buy into their new home. And the one thing that I've really enjoyed is working with veterans,
which is awesome.
It's such a great feeling to help a veteran get to that dream of buying a home.
Absolutely. And they give so much to our country. They have such a warm spot in my heart. I have some in my family.
Yeah.
And so just the thought of what they put on the line for us and, what can we give back? And not all of us are able to give, so much. But if we are some area in our careers that we have some expertise and we can offer those things and some insight, I think, yeehaw.
I agree. I speak to a lot of them. And it's sad because a lot of them have disabilities. They come back from their time and they're given a disability rating. And some of them, don't have one, but a lot of them do. And they all come back with stories. And it is sad. Because I'm a former teacher, I pride myself in trying to educate the veterans on this great loan option that they have. And so many of them just don't have any idea, what it takes to use their entitlement. And that's why I enjoy it. It's just, cool. Educating them.
Because a lot of them probably think that buying a house is an impossibility, especially if you're coming back with a disability. You're thinking you're behind the 8 ball.
Absolutely. So many of them have been renting for many, many years. A lot of it's because they transfer a lot. They move from areas to areas. But, that's a waste of money is renting. Yeah. And so this is an opportunity for them to get into a house with very little out-of-pocket expenses.
Yeah.
And, start buying down their own equity instead of somebody else's.
Which would be awesome. And that's part of the American dream, right?
Correct.
They fought for the American dream. Now they should be living the American dream.
That's exactly right.
Awesome. All right. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about like the VA loan?
Sure.
What is it? Maybe the eligibility, the things you think are important.
Okay. Definitely. There's a lot of myths out there when it comes to the VA loan itself. A lot of veterans may be steered in different directions because people have told them that the VA process is hard, and it's actually very simple.
That's good to hear.
I read all the time, it takes, 60, 90 days to get approvals. That's not true. I mean, we're giving out commitment letters, before the purchase and sale is even, executed. Wow. And, we're ready to close before even 30 days is up when the standard contract's 45 days.
That's awesome.
It's very simple, and they just need to be educated. They need to understand, what they're eligible for, whether they're still in the military or they're retired, they would have a certificate of eligibility.
Okay.
And if they don't have that, then, my team will get it for them. We have access on the lender portal to pull their certificate of eligibility. It tells us, basically what they're eligible for. And most of them are eligible for 100% financing.
Wow.
And, you start thinking about that. What other loan program does that?
Right.
It's USDA and VA.
Yeah.
And VA has no mortgage insurance. And when you talk about the rates that you can offer, they're equal to or sometimes lower than conventional rates.
Yeah.
So the payment's even better.
That's amazing. Like 100, think about that, 100% financing that they are eligible for.
Exactly.
So when you're thinking about that down payment, you don't have to think about that down payment, but you do have to think about the closing costs, which one of the things before we came on camera,
right,
you were talking about, hey, it's very important to structure your deal. So if you find your dream home,
right,
make sure you have the correct listing agent, which of course, call us, but if whoever you're working with,
right.
You want to make sure you're structuring your deal correctly, which is your contract. And so why don't you tell them a little bit about that, or what they should be thinking about?
Sure. So every buyer needs to have a pre-approval before they go shopping, so that their real estate agent's not wasting their time. They need to know what they're eligible for. And so what I talk to my buyers, my veterans, about is, especially since I have an idea of what they have in the bank and what they're looking to spend, is to talk to them about having a negotiation with their realtor and this listing agent for seller credits.
Okay.
You'd be surprised how many times a buyer could negotiate a seller credit, but they just don't know about it. And a seller credit is used to, cover costs.
Yep.
Whether it's a lender fee or a state fee or even title fees. The veteran, there's certain fees they're not obligated to pay, but there's still cost on every loan.
Sure.
And I've had a number of veterans that have closed the last couple months that have negotiated, 3% of a seller credit. One man that closed a couple of weeks ago had a $7,700 seller credit. And so what we did with that, is we actually bought his rate down with part of that money. Okay. So we charged him to get his rate lower, but we applied the seller credit so he got a lower rate. All of his fees were paid for. His homeowner's insurance for the whole year was paid for.
That's some good negotiating.
Exactly. But he didn't know about it, and we talked about it, and he used that with his agent, and his agent was able to negotiate that with the seller, and he's in his house with no money down.
That's amazing. So no money down. Yep. And then he's paying less for the loan over time because he was able to buy his rate down.
That's right. That's right.
That's awesome.
It's a huge savings. If somebody tries to talk a veteran into doing like an FHA loan, which is 3.5% down, or even a first-time homeowner loan with Fannie Mae, which is 3% down. Yeah. That's ridiculous. I mean, there's so much money, especially if the rates are pretty close to the same. Yeah. Except there's no mortgage insurance. Wow. And so they save a ton of money.
That's amazing. And then just to explain just a little bit for people out there who maybe don't understand the whole seller credit. So when you're putting in your offer, let's just say it's a $200,000 house, you can put an offer in, say at 207, but the seller is going to give you $7,000 back at closing to be put towards your closing costs. So you're still paying for the house at 207. You got a higher mortgage at 207, but you're rolling it all in. So it's at the end of the day, you're not going to the table with cash.
Correct. So another thing that veterans need to know about, or even active military, especially the active people, is if you do not have if you're retired and you have a disability rating of 10% or higher, then you don't have to pay a funding fee. And a funding fee is a calculated part of the loan that's financed on top of it. So if you are retired military, but you don't have a disability rating, then you would have a funding fee that's added to the loan. It's financed. Or if you're active military, you would have the same. Okay. Once you get out of the military and you have a disability, as long as it's, like I say, 10% or higher, then you don't have to pay that funding fee. And that's, so like you bought a house for $300,000 and you have a funding fee, that's added on top of that. And so your mortgage payment would be based on the all-in loan size.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
And then another thing we were talking about too, was you saying there was some limits on the lending per county, which I think is kind of a big thing to know in this area. We're in Mattapoisett, we are in Plymouth County, but we are right next to a town that's Bristol County. So what are the differences there?
So if you live in this area and you live in Bristol County, then the conventional high loan size is $448,000, at least this year it is. But if you live in Plymouth County, it's $688,000. Wow. So if you are a veteran and you are looking to have to buy a home, let's say it's $1 million. I mean, that's a great home to buy.
That would be a great home, and you can buy it from me.
Exactly. But here's the thing. So your high loan size is $688,000. So the difference between that and the $1 million the veteran would have to pay as a down payment 25% of that difference.
Okay.
So let's say
not 25% of the million.
Nope, 25% of the difference between the high loan, or the high loan amount, which is $688,880.
Yeah.
And $1 million is what, 320,
Don't ask me to do that math, Karen.
312,000. 25% of that would be.
Okay.
Now, but here's the caveat.
Yeah.
January 1st, that's going to change.
Love it.
And that is, there is no maximum
so
loan
it goes
size.
away.
So you can finance 100%. Now, we don't have all the details, but
Yeah.
basically they've just changed it to where you're not maxed out anymore.
That's awesome.
It is
Another
awesome.
good benefit.
And I do want to say something about the seller credit again, just to make sure that it's totally understood.
I love it. Yep.
So a seller credit is applied to cost. Okay. So if you buy a home that's $200,000, that's your loan size. And let's say you have a 10% or higher rating on the disability, no funding fee. So your loan size is 200, but your cost is, let's say, 5,000, which would include escrow setup. It could include, because you have to pay what's that? Attorney fees.
Attorney fee.
Well, title fees, attorney fees, state fees, transfer tax, whatever.
Yeah.
Those are fees that are going to have to be paid for. And that seller credit is going to pay. So the cash to close would be whatever your total cost is minus that seller credit.
Okay.
Okay. So it's not actually applied to the loan. Now, there's a couple other things that we probably should talk about. When you go under contract, the veteran, all VA loans require a pest inspection.
Okay, that's one that comes up a lot.
So Patty, being the attorney, would say, all right, well, you need a home inspection as well. So when you're doing a VA loan, the veteran cannot pay for a pest inspection.
Okay.
But there are a lot of inspectors, especially in Massachusetts, that will say, all right, you do your inspection through me, and I'll give you for free the pest inspection. And that's good, because sometimes the seller just doesn't want to be hassled. They're under contract. They don't want to have to pay for
like,
more.
What's this? Nobody ever.
Another $300 or whatever.
Yeah.
And so now the veteran can get the pest inspection for free. And then there's one other one. If you're buying a property that has a well, then you need a water test on top of that. If it's public water, it's different. But so there are some things that you have to do. It's just part of the VA loan process. VA appraisers, they're no different than, an FHA appraiser. They're probably a little bit more stringent than a conventional appraiser, but at the end of the day, they're just looking out for your best interest to make sure that the house is in good shape.
Yeah, and you obviously want to I'm a big proponent of this. Sometimes Kate and I have some different views on this, but I come from an investment standpoint, and so when I buy a house, I want to know it's worth what I'm paying for it. So it's actually kind of nice to know you have somebody on your side looking out for you.
So So we talked earlier about the certificate of eligibility, and I just want to show what that looks like. And I printed off one, and it's kind of hard to see them here, but I also
you can push it go right
blacked
in there,
out. So this is what you would be getting. The lender would be getting for you. Actually, I would be getting for you.
Okay.
And this is what we would use to know exactly what you're eligible for.
Okay.
This has your eligibility. Now, there are different levels of eligibility for veterans. Number one, if you were full-time military, then you're pretty much eligible because you've been in the military for a couple of years or whatever. Now, if you are I think it's 6 months actually. If you were a reservist or if you were National Guard, you have to be in the National Guard for 6 years before you're eligible. And then one other thing. So let's say you're a spouse and your military spouse passed away while in the service, then you have rights to his entitlement.
Wow.
Or if she or he has a disability from the service, and then they pass away as a result of that disability, then you would also have the same entitlement. So even if you're a spouse of a military person, it's still possible to use their entitlement. That's
amazing.
But that's only for the spouse.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, and then even when we were talking about that certificate of eligibility, I was thinking about what if you've been out of the military for quite a long time, and then you brought up a story about somebody who had gotten out sometime in the 70s.
Yes.
And so digging and trying to find the, what do you call that? The
DD-214.
Okay, that's military term for
So
you.
when they are discharged, they'll get a DD-214 that'll show basically the branch they were in. It'll have how many years they served. And it'll tell you if they were dishonorably or honorably discharged. But you have to be honorably just discharged in order to get entitlement.
Yeah.
But I had a customer or client recently that closed, lives up in Adams, which is northwest corner of the state.
Wow.
He retired from the Marines in the 70s, late
Wow.
70s, and had never purchased a home using his entitlement. He had bought a couple of homes, but never has used his entitlement. And when he and I connected and we're talking about this, I mean, this is a guy who's been out of the military for 40 years,
Wow.
but was able to use his entitlement to buy a new home.
Awesome.
And he is so happy.
Is he?
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Was he in the was he in Vietnam? Is that was his war? Was it
He
Korea?
was he was not in Vietnam. He was only in the military during the mid to late 70s.
Gotcha.
So he
Okay.
had served his 181 days and
Yeah.
had moved on.
Yeah.
But it's just great that he was able to do it. I actually have a closing this Wednesday of a guy who's a recruiter right now for the Army. He's been in the military for 6 years. Now he has the funding fee because he doesn't have a disability. He's still active.
Yeah.
But he's buying a home. Him and his wife have been renting for 7 years.
Wow.
And when I started talking about, they're paying $2,400 a month in rent.
Mm-hmm.
Now multiply that by 12 and know how much that is.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
And that's 100% interest, people, because you ain't getting any equity out of that.
Well,
so.
whoever you're writing the check for,
Yeah.
you're paying that person's equity down.
Yes.
So, and I was able to help them get a VA loan for a payment that's less than their current rent.
Wow.
In a house that they love, and
Right.
they're closing
There's
on
a lot
Wednesday.
of pride with that, and I think that's exciting. And that's the best way we talk about it all the time here. It's the best way to build wealth is through real estate. And so if there's a way for you to get in there to get cheaper money or not to put so much down in your pocket and to grow through appreciation, that equity over time, you got to do it.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, awesome. We didn't want to get too far down the rabbit hole on this one, but there are refinance opportunities.
There are refinance,
so talk about that just a little bit.
There's an interest rate reduction program. It's IRRRL, which is basically you're not checking credit. You're not. It's not even underwritten. They're just making sure the underwriters are making sure you've been on time on your mortgage payments. But basically, you're lowering your rate. And as long as you meet certain criteria with the loan payment, if you're going from an ARM to a fixed rate, or we have to make sure that it's going to improve your situation with benefit.
Yeah.
But there's also a way of financing cost in that instead of paying it out of pocket like you would in a purchase.
Yeah.
So as long as we're providing you a benefit.
Yeah.
And then and a lot of people are buying homes, over the last 18 months, they're using their VA entitlement that may have closed with a rate in the high 4s or even low 5s. Now the rates are really low into the 3s for some people, and they're able to do this particular type of refinance to get a better rate.
I had 2 closings last week, both in the 3s. Like, I can't believe I saw them already. That's pretty awesome.
All of my closings are in the 3s.
Yeah, I gotta go get with Carrie. That's awesome. Anything else you think we didn't talk about here today? I think we covered a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, we did. We did cover a lot of good stuff, and there are cash out refinances available up to the 100%. The rabbit hole would be explaining the calculations and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so
I won't remember
avoid
that,
but you can call me and I will explain all this. I'm a former teacher. I enjoy educating people on this process.
That's where that kicks in.
To hammer the nail one more time, it's 100% financing.
Yeah, and no
mortgage insurance at all.
And so MI, mortgage insurance. So just in case you don't know what that is, so if you don't put down enough of a down payment, you become a high risk loan. And so the conventional or even FHA, they charge you for an insurance policy to make sure that you don't go under foreclosure. If you do, their interests are protected in what they have in the loan. So
that insurance is to protect the lender.
Yes,
not you.
Yes, not you, the lender.
You're a high risk.
But
think about that.
Yeah.
20% down to avoid it on a conventional loan.
Yeah.
You can't really avoid it on the FHA, but on the VA, it's no mortgage insurance.
Which is a huge savings, because I remember when my husband and I, we bought our first house, and that mortgage, PMI, I'm like, what the heck is this PMI? This is when I was first learning the biz, and I was like, well, what is that, and why am I paying it, and how do I get rid of it?
Well, FHA hits you twice. They hit you with mortgage insurance that you pay for at closing, but they also, put the upfront mortgage insurance and premium into your loan, so it's financed.
Yeah.
And that just calculates your payment higher.
Yes. I thought I was paying X and I was paying Y. But anyways, we're past that now, people.
Exactly. Right.
So good. Well, this has been awesome. If we put on the little post here the telephone number that if you wanted to contact Carrie, I highly recommend it. I really feel so strongly about you sharing this with the veterans in your life. I think we got to get them out of rental. They fought for the American dream. They should be living the American dream. It is not a complicated program. I do think there's a lot of myths out there. I hear that a lot. You know?
If you don't mind, let me say this.
Ahead.
So the best loan program that has the lowest percentage of defaults in the United States is the VA loan program.
Yeah.
The lowest percentage. I mean, I realize that there's a lot of conventional, purchases and such, but the VA loan program, it's a very liberal program. Let me tell you. I mean, as far as underwriting is concerned, we use desktop underwriter to determine whether we can do the loan or not, to move it towards an underwriter. And the debt ratio can be pretty much anything above 50, whereas other programs don't allow that.
Gotcha.
50%, meaning your debts are more than 50% of your income.
Yeah.
And so, or your income is, you know what I mean?
I got it. I got
you. Got it? And so the VA allows that.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm talking about when I say it's a liberal program, is that they're looking for a way to get you approved.
Right.
Don't let people, steer you away from this loan program. It's amazing.
It is amazing. And just us talking about it the other day, talking about it in preparation for this video, and then going through this video, like it's astounding. And it's nice to hear that at least we're doing something right for our veterans. We should be doing so much more, but this is a pretty amazing thing for us to be able to do for them.
Right.
And I think the low, default rate, et cetera. I mean, these are disciplined people, they've gone through a lot, it's amazing. So why don't you just throw in the video if they want to get in touch with you? You have an email address or how? I
do. My email address is Carrie H @embracehomeloans.com.
Awesome.
And my cell phone number, you call me anytime, 774-222-3988. Look, I'm here to answer your questions.
Awesome.
If you choose to work with me, that's fantastic. I'm here to help you, but I'm here to also answer your questions. And if I don't have your answer to your question, I'm going to get it for you.
Yeah. And you can even post it to this post. I'll make sure
Absolutely.
he gets them because we talk quite a bit. So this has been awesome. Thank you so much for joining us and educating it. We'll have to have you come on again. This has been fun. And I'm sure Kate is so jealous she's not here right now. Anyways, all right. Thank you and have a great night.
Bye.